Hey guys, Papa Pete back in today, and it's time for my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision Homebrew games. We're getting to the point now where there's 200 homebrew games made for the system, a lot more than the 125 that were originally made for the system way back in the day. So to find a Mount Rushmore for these, well, obviously we're going to go by history, and we're going to obviously as well go by the impact that these games have had on the future of homebrew games and the development of the Intellivision homebrew community. So without any further ado, sit back and let's take a look at my picks for the Mount Rushmore of Intellivision homebrew.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
For all your Intellivision collecting needs, as well as homebrews from publishers like Electronite, Homebrew Inc., Intellivision Revolution, not to mention the 10 titles that Intellivision Collector has published themselves, as well as blah blah woof woof games, be sure to visit www.intellivisioncollector.com. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's get right to it. I'm going to start off with the George Washington position on my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision homebrew games. And for this one, you know, it's going to be one that's right near the beginning. It's going to be one that's really influential on the development and the start of the entire community. So, of course, what else could I pick for the George Washington spot but Joe Zabicek's Fortress? Fortress was an absolutely fantastic game programmed by Joe back in 2001, and it was actually released in 4 incantations, right? It was, of course, the Philly Classic version, then you had the standard LTO edition that was released right afterwards. You had an Intelligent Vision released afterwards in conjunction with David Harley, who worked with Joe on so many different projects. And then, of course, there was a second release in 2007 of the Intelligent Vision version, under LTO, under left turn only, of the game. And it's kind of neat to think that this game actually had 4 different versions, and there were only 6 total Intellivision games, homebrew games, at the same time. So that is how significant and historic this game was. Not to mention the fact this was done back in the day when it was full assembly language, of course, to build these games. Programming just like the programmers did back in the 80s, back Blue Sky Rangers day. And Joe Zabicek just did so much for the community and to create this game. And you know, the thing that is most interesting about it? It's beautiful. It's fun. The sounds are great. The graphics are great. Yes, it's Tetris. Is the originality of it? Well, it's original as far as the Intellivision goes because it is the very first game. Nobody had ever made one before. So yes, it's Tetris, which is a clone of that game, ever popular game. But what else are you going to bring to the system to see what the interest is going to be? But a game that you know everybody's going to love. You bring it over and you just try to do it as well as you can. And you end up making an absolutely masterful port of this game for the Intellivision. So I think it's a no-brainer myself. The George Washington spot on my Mount Rushmore definitely is Fortress. Next up, we have the game that I want to slide into the Thomas Jefferson spot on my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision homebrew games, and that's the first ever game from Intelligent Vision, a real classic title that I love playing nowadays, and that is Stonix. Originally written by Arnaud Chevalier. He created the game originally for the Atari ST way back in the day, and never really finished the game and hadn't gone much further with it when he was approached by David Harley, creator of Intelligent Vision, just before that time, just before the creation of Intelligent Vision actually, to finish up the game and have it be the first release for an upstart company that would release various Intellivision homebrew games and a lot of the prototypes from back in the Blue Sky Rangers days that had never been released. But this was going to be a new game, something very different, that would be released by the company. It'd be a great way to break it out. And it absolutely positively was. Arnaud finished up the gameplay aspects of it, the graphics, the sound, etc., while David went forward with designing a lot of the levels. He got a lot of help from Heather as well. So Heather and David Harley both did massive contributions to this game to get it to where it ended up being for its release. Started in 2003, but actually got released in early 2004. And really, Intellivision has never looked back since. This game, I'd love to have a copy of this game, but it's available free to play digitally, which is wonderful. Most of these games are, and I'll tell you about some of the ones that are still available physically as I go on. But for this one, just like Fortress, it's very difficult to get them physical now. But if you do happen to have one, or you get the opportunity to pick one up, by all means, I highly recommend you do so. But that doesn't keep you from playing it now. Anyway, man, it doesn't get any better than Stonix. Such great gameplay in the Arkanoid style, or Breakout style. Possibly, you know, you can look at it both ways, but more like Arkanoid, where you have different power-ups to play, and there are over 100 levels in this game, plus Easter eggs, because they had 32K to work with, and they just barely kept it under that. So you've, like I say, squeezed in a few Easter eggs. Anyway, guys, I think this one is so ultimately deserving, being not only the first Intellivision title, man, Intellivision itself is so massive in the history of the Intellivision homebrew community, right? But anyway, this is definitely deserved 100% to be in the Thomas Jefferson spot on my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision homebrew. Now, next up in the Theodore Roosevelt spot, my Intellivision homebrew Mount Rushmore, I'm going to put a game that sort of showed exactly what the Intellivision system could do compared to what they did with it in the past. And that is going to be Carl Mueller Jr.'s Donkey Kong Arcade. Originally released in 2011 by Intellivision in the brown box as Donkey Kong Arcade. Later, tweaked a little bit and released as a, I'll call it a port, but another version, an updated version released by Electronite in 2012 called DK Arcade. Man, it just showed what the television system could do. Carl really understood the need to create a different graphical engine, get away from the exec, because it really created limitations on the Intellivision that didn't allow it to bring these arcade games over. And when he did this and brought Donkey Kong Arcade to the Intellivision homebrew community, it really proved to everybody just what our system could do. And everybody was so impressed, and it also motivated further development for other games to realize, okay, we can do these things. And they've been doing them ever since. So really, this is a very historic game to bring such a prominent port. I mean, the Coleco port from 1982, look, the rumor was that they did it on purpose. They made it terrible just to make their own ColecoVision look better. And whether you believe that or not, which I personally don't, I think it was just a product of the programmers that they chose, the contractors they chose through Rockland, being inexperienced and unable to properly program for the system, or at least starting off very early to program for the system. It was very early. Donkey Kong was the first game they developed, and they learned to get better as they went on. But anyway, Carl Mueller Jr. put all that aside and showed just exactly what the Intellivision could do. So there was no looking back after Carl's version, because everybody knew then, everybody had the confidence that they could do wonderful things on the system, and even greater Intellivision homebrew games came following up on his creation. And the one thing about this entry on my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision homebrew games, Donkey Kong Arcade, or at least the DK Arcade version from Electronite, is still readily available. Check places like IntellivisionCollector.com, and also maybe with Willie on Willie Muller of Electronite on Facebook, and you can probably get a copy of this one still for yourself, unlike any of the other ones, including the next one I'm about to give you, that aren't available physically anymore. But anyway, definitely deserving of the Theodore Roosevelt spot on my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision homebrew. This brings me to the final spot on my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision homebrew games, and it's the Abraham Lincoln spot. And like I did with the my Mount Rushmore from the original 125, I like to reserve the Abraham Lincoln one because he was a special president, sort of different than any other ones in my mind. I want to reserve it for a game that's got some sort of significant difference from the other games, right? For the 125, it was Utopia. That's different than the other three games in my mind. Somehow I just see it that way, and it's the same with here in the Intellivision homebrew world. I'm going to put a game that's different than the other three because this is a totally original game. Yes, it's a maze game, but I'm going to put Christmas Carol and the Ghosts of Christmas Presents in the Abraham Lincoln spot for my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision Homebrew. James Pujas made a fantastic game. I'll call it DZJ because it's easier to pronounce. DZJ on the Atari Age forums had created a fantastic game back in the day. Again, all in assembly because this is pre-NT Basic, right? It's a maze game, yes, and you can say it's got similarities to other maze games, but he created the background story. He created the different levels all from scratch in assembly, where you control the character going to try to save the stolen presents that were stolen by the evil snowman, and he's got him guarded by not only himself, but by the ghosts of Christmas presents that go around the different caverns and try to keep you from picking them back up, and you try to retrieve them. You're in the lost caverns in the Himalayas, and I'm telling you, graphics, music, gameplay are all there in this game. And it was such a kind of a revelation to me that a game like this could be made right from scratch, and yeah, it's just phenomenal, and it's very, very beloved in the Intellivision Homebrew community. I think it really is an inspirational game for anybody wanting to do something right from scratch as opposed to making a port, because you can make fantastic games without necessarily copying older work. I mean, a lot of things, there's always going to be similarities. It's like it's very difficult to do something that's just completely and utterly unlike anything that's ever been done. Utopia did that. But still, this game, the work that he put into it and the background, yeah, absolutely fantastic. You can still get this game for free digitally. It's very difficult to pick up physically now. I don't have a physical copy of this game, but I've seen them before. I have it. I play it all the time because I have the digital copy. But man, this is such a fantastic game, and totally deserving of the Abraham Lincoln spot in my choices for the Mount Rushmore of Intellivision Homebrew games. Well, guys, that's it. Those are my choices for my Mount Rushmore of Intellivision Homebrew games. What do you think? A lot of history there. A lot of old games. There's a lot of fantastic newer games as well, but when I get right back to it and I look up at that mountain, because I love history like that. Even though I'm in Canada, I love anything historical like that. And that's just such a neat thing, Mount Rushmore. So I think it fits so perfectly when you're looking at some the founding games of the Intellivision Homebrew world. It's so appropriate, and that's why I pick historic games. I pick older games. I mean, back at the time, the newest of those games was Christmas Carol, come out in 2012, and it was like there were only, I don't know if there were less than 20 games released at that time, and now we're up over 200 and it's really taken off. But all of the games that we see today, the 20s and 30s coming out every year right now, all owe their inspiration and their history on these very first games and the people that brought them out, like your James Pujas, your David Harley, Joe Zbicek, Arnaud Chevalier, Willie Muller. All these guys deserve so much credit for building that up to the great Intellivision Homebrew community we have today. So anyway, guys, that's it for this week. Make sure you put your choices for your Mount Rushmore in the comment down below. Or make your own video. Why not, right? It's always fun to talk about this. A lot of history here, like I said. But anyway, guys, until the next video, you take care.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't...
I'm William Muller from Electronite, and you're watching Papa Pete, the Old Guy Gamer.
What the